Hello and a very warm welcome to the second edition of NDTV and Rolly Books presents India Debates. Now we had a very engaging first session, and thank you so much for all the audience, for all the participants who made it so engaging on an issue which many people think is evergreen, something which is discussed in every household. In the first edition, we debated whether social media does more harm than good in a democracy. In the second edition of India Debates, we are going to concentrate on an issue which is equally important, equally pressing, and we discuss this each day in our homes, even in our offices, out on the road. How exactly should we be in a democracy? What exactly is happening to our democracy? These are the conversations that take place in various forms. So we ask a very fundamental question on a certain aspect of democracy which has been spoken about a lot. Many people say that it is not being preserved, and then there are others who argue that this word itself in a democracy is being abused. Remember Rajnath Singh's comment in Parliament where he said that this is the most abused word. So what is that word that we are talking about? On the second edition of India Debates, our motion today is secularism is essential to democracy. To discuss and debate this, I have with me people who are for the motion and against the motion. First, let me introduce people who are for the motion. Saba Naqvi, senior journalist as well as author, joins us. Thank you so much, Saba. We also have former MP and Ambassador Pawan Verma with us. Thank you so much, Ambassador Verma, for joining us. It'll be interesting to hear. I hear that you have a very Sanskritized explanation to what you have to say. So we'll look forward to that. Shubhrasta is the founder, editor of The Churn, is with us. She's going to be against the motion. And in just a short moment, we'll also be joined in by social activist Deepa Rahul Ishwar. She's also going to be against the motion. All right, so the format of this debate, let me quickly tell all of you, is that all of you commentators get about 3 to 4 minutes, and let's time it to 3 minutes because I think that will be fair. 3 minutes of time for your opening comments to defend your motion, and then we'll also advise our audience to vote for the team, the best team. Who do you think is making a more convincing argument, right? So let's go first. Saba Naqvi speaks for the motion first. The topic, I repeat, the motion is secularism is essential to democracy. Saba, your 3 minutes for your opening comment begin now.
Thank you, Sanket. So, and thank you, Pawan, Subrashta, everybody on the show for having me here. Secularism in the Indian context is a much abused word. To that extent, I would agree with what is often stated. However, we can have electoral democracy without secularism. We are seeing democracies becoming more and more authoritarian, representing one section of the population as opposed to all the people. But if we seek a just world, if we seek equality, and let's understand this, the idea of universal franchise, it came because of the idea of equality. If we want equality, if we want tolerance, if we want all these things, of course, secularism as such, not the term the way politicians twist it around, but the values that come with secularism, which means that the state remains, does not lean in towards one religious denomination, and the state is there to protect all people equally. That is the value that secularism implies. The term itself has, of course, during the Congress era been abused. I've written a very piece which was very widely circulated once about this, the dilemma of the Congress form of secularism. Yet there is no equality without equal treatment of people belonging to different faiths, especially in our country, where 4 religions were founded in India: Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, and we have the world's second, if not third largest, there is always an argument about this, Muslim population here, who have a historical role to play in the evolution of what we are today. Look at our language. The words that we speak out They all come from Farsi. Many of them come from Farsi, some come from Sanskrit, some come from local dialects. Look at the monuments. Look at the music that we enjoy. If we look at the history of Hindustani classical gharanas, that will show us the history. I'm talking about North Indian Hindustani classical music. Look at the history of the Kairana Gharana. Look at the history of the Maihar Gharana. You will understand what pluralism, syncretism, composite cultures are sounds, the music we enjoy, the music of popular cinema, the music of Hindustani classical music, the monuments we have all around us. It comes from a joint historical enterprise. In the Kathak dance, since Sanket, you were in Ayodhya recently, and you would know, you announced that you are from the town of Ayodhya. You do know that the Hanuman Gadi temple there, which is the prominent temple till the Ram Mandir goes up, it was made largely by donations from the Nawabs of Awadh, whose first capital was Faizabad, after which they moved to Lucknow. And the last Nawab of Awadh was known for developing Kathak. All those Radha, Krishan, all those, the great development of Kathak took place in his court.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we must not forget our joint history.
Yes, so the 3 minutes are up, but thank you so much for making your opening comments, and you can go on as we take this debate forward. Shubhrastha, you are speaking against the motion. I'm repeating the motion again and also requesting the audience to vote who they think, which team you think is making a more convincing argument. The motion is secularism is essential to democracy. Shubhrastha speaks against the motion. Shubhrastha, your 3 minutes begin now.
Thank you, Sanket. I think the operative words to be really looked at in this motion are secularism, essential, and democracy. Now, when we talk about secularism, I think it's now established that every nation has its own journey of secularism. In the Indian context, we all know that the people who oppose the very idea of secularism in India denounce it on 3 counts. One is the foreign origins of the term, the other being the inapplicability in the Indian context, and the third being the way in which secularism has really journeyed through the tumultuous political history of our country. We all know, and we really need to go back to the Constituent Assembly debates, especially youngsters like us, to understand why Nehru, Ambedkar, H.C. Mukherjee, Mr. Mishra, all of them were really uncomfortable with this term being introduced in the preamble, even in 1948. So what really happened in 1975? When we talk about the 42nd Amendment, we also need to understand that there was a Lohia and there was a JP who was not very comfortable with this surreptitious addition of the term in the Constitution. So why are we discussing all this today is simply because the latter 2 problems with the word secularism, which is how it has really journeyed. Now, I agree with Sabha when she says that, we are a plural nation and all of that. But Sabha, I don't think the term secularism is really responsible for our country being plural. I come from Bihar. Muslims observe Chhath. I come from an area, I have been married in an area where without Ras Khan's poetry, you cannot imagine the whole idea of Krishna, especially the Bal Krishna Swaroop. What are we really talking about? When we talk of democracy, let's look at what Ram Rajya meant. Sita was denounced by a person who did not come from a royal lineage. She valued the words of that particular person, moved out of the palace on her own. Was India not secular then? This addition of the term secular, which comes with laden Western import, is something I don't think any Indian should be comfortable with. We have grown up reading the Indian Constitution, the pages of which have been imprinted with, the Ram Rajya Sabha and, all of that. We are a dharmic nation, and dharma is not equivalent to being not secular. I think that's where I would want to rest my case.
Okay. Shubhrastha has finished 30 seconds early, which basically gives Ambassador Verma 30 seconds more time, right? So Ambassador Verma now speaks for the motion. On the motion, secularism is essential to democracy. Ambassador Verma, your 3 minutes and an extended 30 seconds time begins now.
I think I want to begin by saying that there may be an Indian definition of secularism, as indeed a great civilization like India, which goes back to the dawn of time, must evolve. And our definition of secularism was discussed in great detail in modern times, and I will come to ancient times also, in modern times during the debates in the Constituent Assembly. And it was agreed that the strictly Western construct of the complete separation between state and church is not applicable to India, but that secularism in the Indian context, in order for the functioning of democracy in a country which is multicultural, multi-religious and plural, must mean respect for all faiths. Now you may give it a label. I remember that when Mrs. Indira Gandhi was moving in the parliament, the 46th Amendment, Mr. L.M. Singhvi, the noted jurist and parliamentarian, went to her and said, in the Indian context, you cannot use the word dharm nirpeksh because you cannot do without dharma. So it has to be panth nirpeksh. In other words, you are not favoring any one religion, but you must respect all religions. So there is a constitutional obligation. There is an Indian context to the word secularism, and I don't care what the Western concept is. And over and above that, there is a civilizational legacy. And that is very important, because I agree that a respect for different faiths is inherent, at least in the Hinduism I know, in the foundational aspects of our civilization. It was the Upanishads which said, Ekam Satya Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti. There is one truth, wise people call it by different names. It was again our ancient seers and sages who said, Ano Bhadra Kritavo Yantu Vishvata. Let good thoughts flow to me from all directions, including, if necessary, from other faiths, so long as they enrich mankind as a whole. It was again our ancient treatises which said Udara Charitanam Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. For the big-hearted, the whole world is our family. And I can quote chapter and verse from the essential compressed cerebral energy of Hinduism, which is by definition eclectic, tolerant, inclusive, and cannot but respect differing points of view, including different faiths, without diluting its own central narrative. So there is a civilizational legacy, and there is now I just need 30 seconds more that you promised me. There has been definitely a distortion of secularism after 1947. Political secularism, for vote bank politics. I cannot understand why Mahatma Gandhi supported the Khilafat movement. I cannot understand why Pandit Nehru told Dr. Rajendra Prasad not to go to Somnath. I cannot understand why the Shah Bano judgment was overruled. I cannot understand why there was a deathly silence when Kashmiri Pandits were being expelled. I cannot understand when secularists sit on TV today and say that if the Ram Temple Foundation has been laid, secularism is dead when it's pursuant to a Supreme Court judgment. These are distortions. But the basic principle remains valid. As a democracy, which is multicultural, plural, multi-religious, you cannot have true democracy unless, in accordance with my legacy, I respect all faiths.
Ambassador Verma, if you allow me, Deepa Rahul Ishwar, social activist, is now with us. Hi Deepa, and welcome to India Debates. Let me give you your 3 minutes of opening comment. Deepa, where do you stand on the motion that secularism is essential to democracy? Deepa Rahul Ishwar.
Is secularism necessary in our democracy, or and like you rightly pointed out, my viewpoint is that it is not necessary. That is to put it straight. And I can talk about my own experience and what I had to face when I had to, talk about a so-called secular democracy. What happened was I spoke for my belief, which was the Sabrimala temple and the Sabrimala issue. And my idea of secularism at that point, or from the time I knew about secularism, my point was basically about accepting all religions and having an environment where you accept all religions. But when I started speaking for my religion, when I started speaking for my beliefs, I was termed as a communal. And then I realized that the notion of secularism in our democracy is actually pseudo-secularism. Because what I feel the society is talking about as secularism is, for the lack of another word, let me say atheistic secularism. They probably say that there should be no barriers, all religions should be one, and you should consider all religions as the same, which is insane because every religion is different. Our country is about unity in diversity. The beauty lies in being diverse and accepting diversities. It's not about blurring the boundaries between religions. Every religion is required. Every religion is unique and distinct in its way. I am a proud practicing Hindu. My beliefs are as important as an Islam culture or as an Islam belief. It's not saying that we don't want Hinduism, we don't want Islamism. If that is secularism, I am against secularism. And I think that is what is being practiced in India. It's just a barrier between a Gandhian secularism and Nehruvian secularism, understood? So what I would probably vouch for more is that we need pluralism and not secularism. We need to be open. We need to be diverse and accommodative of all religions. And that is actually secularism. But since we're not practicing that in our democracy, I think the secularism that we're practicing right now is absolutely unnecessary. Because it is because of that very secularism that you're terming within quotes that I was branded a communal. People told me that I'm talking for age-old. Which world am I living in? Which age am I coming from? I work for an IT company here in a techno park, but then people actually branded me as if I'm coming from the old manuscripts, some old age woman. But then it's basically my idea was it's my belief, it's my religion. But then the moment a Hindu starts talking about his or her own religion, where is the secularism gone? So the secularism is basically looking at the beauty of our country, of our own Bharat. It's actually about accepting the different religions the way it is. And it's not that we do not need any religion. It's not that all God is one. We have to accept that we have different gods. And every belief of God is beautiful in its own right. And accepting that, and if we ever reach that stage, I would say that we are on the right path of secularism. Until then, no.
Okay, let me now come back to Shubrasta. We've heard what Ambassador Verma had to say. You've heard Saba Naqvi's version. The larger point that Ambassador Verma seems to be making is that look at the word secularism in the Indian context. You spoke about secularism being a foreign import. Would you be willing to give Ambassador Verma's theory on secularism a chance? And in that context, it should be necessary in our democracy?
And what is that version of secularism? I'm sorry, I haven't really heard about it in the parliament. I don't have a policy framework from the erstwhile, MP or anybody else which defines what Indian secularism is. As long as it's not made clear to, people like us,
no, but
the millennials, the Zoomers.
He just told us about this, Shubrasta. In his opening comment, he explained the Indian concept.
And he seems to agree with the ancient wisdom, which is what I'm saying, that you don't need a word secularism to really define who we are. The whole idea of Hindu Rashtra, the whole idea of Ram Rajya entails what the word secular is. Why do we need to reassert it? Why do we seek validation from a Protestant nation like the US or a Catholic, by and large, a Catholic nation like France to be able to tell us what secularism is? Because we've also seen formal, secular states like Iraq and Syria absolutely fail to hold the tenets of secularism, which we are talking in an ideal situation. The only point which I'm trying to make, Sanket, is that the word secular was added in the Indian constitution in a in a period of a definite political turmoil. Until and unless we negotiate that reality with a rational mind and with the entire movement that was going on in the country, students-led movement, socialists like Lohia and JP, who were literally up to protest against the totalitarian regime that India had become, to put the word secular, in order to dilute the entire political legacy of that time, is something that, our generation has really been cheated of our own legacy. I would go back to what Ambedkar and what Nehru had said during the Constituent Assembly debates. They were not comfortable in adding the word secular to our constitution. However, it did not mean that they stood up for a uni-dimensional, uni-cultural, all the opposites with the word multi. They were never proponents of one culture, one nation, in the sense
Okay.
of
Sabha Naqvi, can we now come to you? Sabha, see, you heard Shubrasta's reply or rebuttal to what Ambassador Verma is defining Indian secularism. And if we are defining it using Asian scriptures, then in that case, this format is already there. Why do we need a definition in a word called secularism? In that context, she says that this Western import is not required, it's not mandatory for a democracy.
So there are many things that Shubrashta says that I would partly agree with. However, this debate, is it about the word secular in the constitution? Is it about that, or is it about a larger thing about the idea, what secular principle implies? Is it about that? Because if you're talking about the constitution, then one can get into judgments which were subsequently given, which have made it clear that it is now part of the basic structure of the constitution, as far as I know. A legal expert can correct me. However, that's not the point. We have the word, but we are not really a secular nation in practice any longer. Let's understand that. Which is why, the problem right now with the word secularism is that it's touted by people often who don't have much political capital any longer, and it seems an outdated word. But which is why, because at the beginning I said it's the values that it represents that I speak of here. That we have a joint history, we have joint cultural traditions. We have had a phase where we are excluding, campaigning against one section of our own society, but to go down that path endlessly, whether be it in what Subrashta calls the Hindu Rashtra or not, I mean, that would really be regressive, even to state that. But to go down that path means that we are going to be an unenlightened nation. We are going to be a nation full of bigots, and we are a nation that rewards bigotry and that rewards majoritarianism. And no country in the world, when it's moving forward, goes back and takes on a religious identity. However, in practice, we are pretty much functioning. If we, as a nation where the majority feels the need, a section of the political majority feels a need to assert its identity either by excluding, by campaigning against, by attacking the history of people in the Muslim community.
I seem to get the point that you're trying to make, and before we go back to Ambassador Verma, very quickly a quick right to reply to Shubrasta. Shubrasta, I think the point Sabha is making, that whether you call, reject or disapprove of the word secularism or not, whether you consider it a Western import or not, the point is that anything that is not allowing people of all colors, all castes, creed, sex, religion to coexist is a problem. Any form of majoritarianism is a problem. How do you respond to that?
Sabha, I think you assumed that I'm a bigot and I do not want to look into the whole, the philosophy that the term secularism entails. I think I began by saying that I agree with the whole idea of secularism. The only thing is it's not essential to being a democracy, especially because the word secularism has a certain political import in a country like ours, and also in contemporary times that you talk about. You are very right in saying, that one community feels persecuted, but you should also remember that there is another community which also, brands an entire body of historians as negationists. They have completely done away with the fact, I mean, as if conversions never happened in this country, as if Islam was the religion that everybody followed in India prior to 1947 as well. We have to understand that as I said in my opening remarks, there is a certain journey that the Indian nation has had, and a certain journey that the form of secularism that we are practicing today that has come to the fore. Please remember, even in 1947, though we may, like lambast Jinnah for whatever he did, and we rightfully should, but there were so many other people, so many Indian Muslims, like, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who never wanted to go to Pakistan. So there has been a suppression of a certain kind of Muslim voice in India as well, and an appeasement of a certain other kind. which has led to the
Okay,
infamous.
Shubrasta. Ambassador Verma, I want to come to you. I think you have heard the other side of the story. You've heard the other side of the debate, Ambassador Verma, where both Shubrasta and Deepa seem to suggest that I think their problem is the definition of secularism. How in our country are we actually defining the word secularism? Does it mean that you put anyone down who's trying to practice his or her own religion or fight for the rights of his or her own religion? And as soon as that these seismic activities start happening, that's where the problem happens. Ambassador Verma.
Thank you, Sanket. I think that we should not be caught in a false dialectic between the word and the concept. You don't like the word secularism, replace it. From my point of view, and this is subject to further discussion between people who believe they have contributions to make to define it, I believe the concept is important. And if I have read the debates in the Constituent Assembly right, even if the word secularism was not added in 1975, the essential spirit behind that word, as it means to me, and I know to millions upon millions of people of all faiths, including Hindus in India, which is also congruent to our civilizational legacy, is Sarva Dharma Sambhav, that you have respect for all faiths. I agree with Deepaji. For too long, we have had a tendency in this country where if you speak about some of the belief systems, refinements, achievements of ancient India, and these days I'm researching a book on Hindu civilization, you are immediately conflated with being communal. In other words, you are going back to the ancient past, which, as Nehruji once called it, is the deadwood of the past. It is only ritual, prejudice, superstition, and obscurantism. That is not the correct view. But we have to learn from that past and juxtapose it to the evolution of our freedom movement, where Mahatma Gandhi ji immersed himself in all religions, Sanket. He was not an agnostic like Nehru. He immersed himself in all religions. He was a devout Hindu. And what is the inference he came up with it from it? That this country, in the interests of the motherland, what can hold us together is true respect for all faiths without appeasement of any. As far as the Muslim period of our history, I agree that if there is some kind of syncretic culture we have today, it did not come overnight where the Turkish conquerors came, offered biryani, and we gave them puri aloo. It didn't happen like that. They came as conquerors and as proselytizers. And we have to understand that. And the attempt by a certain left-wing establishment historians to completely gloss over the degree of destruction at that time is actually leading to a backlash. Let's take it on board. Let's not excavate the past for present acrimony. Let's move beyond it, taking it on board, and let us draw the right inference for current day India, where 130 crore people live in a defined geographical space which has evolved over thousands of years, and who are bound by the constitutional mandate to live together to build a nation. And that is the democracy which must survive on respect of all faiths, not the imposition of one faith's belief on another, not to say that what you believe is necessarily primitive, superstitious, ritual. No. I want to end by saying that we may not like the word secularism. By all means, amend it. But the concept behind that for a democracy like ours, a modern republic like ours, is important. And I draw my sustenance from, frankly, as a Hindu, for instance, without necessarily making it sectarian, from the civilizational legacy to which I am heir. In Tulsidas's Ramcharitmanas, Tulsidas, Ram says about Ram Rajya, दैहिक दैविक भौतिक तापा राम राज नहीं काहू ही व्यापा सब नर करहि परस्पर प्रीति. Each person has mutual respect for the other, including obviously their faiths. So that is the concept that must survive. It's irrespective of our past and irrespective of the misuse of
So
secularism
I think what Ambassador
by some
Verma,
people. But we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
correct. So Ambassador Verma, Sabha Naqvi, and this is very interesting. He seems to suggest that a lot of damage has been done by certain left-wing historians, and I just hope we had invited one over so that we could have given them a right to reply. But Sabha, would you like to respond? He says that if you can ensure in our country respect for all religions without appeasement, the job is done, and then you can call it anything, call it secularism, pluralism, anything you want.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to argue history with Pawan Bhai. I'm not going to do that. And Subrasha, there's no question of, you said I describing you as a bigot. I'm not at all doing that. You know, they're having a conversation. If we are to, and Deepa, hello.
Hi.
I will just get back to what we are discussing right now, Sanket. If we are talking, I do believe that some of the most deeply devout religious people I have known, be they Hindus, be they Muslims, be they Christians, have actually been very tolerant and secular of other people's faiths. We have had a problem with people who are not, we have had, I would not call it a problem, we have had one dimension where there is a view which is anti-religion, which is why the left also failed to understand the cultural motives of India politically. I'm not getting into the historians and all of that, which is why they failed. Their political project ultimately failed. They did not even recognize caste. They went on saying it's class. They did not recognize the cultural idiom. So we can have a separate debate someday about the failures of the left in Indian politics. But right now, I again, to an extent, I agree with what Pawan has said about the value that we talk about. There is no way. It may electorally right now, we can have electoral democracy without secularism. That has been made clear to us in large parts of India. Not in all parts of India, that is apparent without what we understand as secularism, right? If we mean that without representation of minorities, you can manage it. Electorally, you can. We have seen a trend all over the world that you can get authoritarian regimes which exclude, be they Native Americans, be they anything. All over the world, you can manage it. You know, democracy, elections themselves do not guarantee a just society. But if our goal is to have a just society, it is not to press buttons where you say I'm secular, but then I also want to talk about the historical wrongs. We have to look towards the future. We have to be universal franchise came in because people wanted equality and justice for all people. So we have to have that lens. When
Okay, let me quickly take certain comments. Fine, I get the point that Sabha is making. Deepa Rahul Ishwar as well as Shubrasta, the point on respect without appeasement. Do you think the moment we are able to achieve this, we would have settled the debate around secularism once and for all? And that is a problem that we have seen, which is a political problem, not just in this dispensation, but the previous ones as well. Deepa, you go first.
I think, Sanket ji, the whole point is, I think we're all speaking from a dream of being in an idealistic environment. Because we are all talking about our spiritual gurus. We're all talking about historians who have actually coined the term secularism and who is actually, probably the root behind the whole concept of secularism. But my point is generally about how much we've gone away from what it was actually meant to be, and how much, and to that question, if I'm to give a straight answer, if we achieve that idealistic utopian type of scenario where there is that respect, like sarva adar bhavna, respect for everyone without, if you reach there, a big if you reach there, then probably I would say that we're going to have a very peaceful environment, and then you actually reach the actual meaning of the word, of the concept secularism. But I would still say that we will only keep debating it, and we will only use secularism as a tool to bang on devotes or bang on the heads of people who talk for their own beliefs, and by doing so, or therefore trying to kill all religions, kill all beliefs, and that's the path the world is taking. Because we also what happened in the Sabrimala issue, we also saw what happened in the Ram Janmabhoomi issue, or whatever. Whenever there is religion concerned, there is a set of people, possibly the extreme left liberals, who probably think that, oh, there's someone's come here to destroy the concept of secularism.
No, but then Deepa, the answer to what you are referring to as extreme left is not extreme right. See, the problem is that in order to correct or course correct or bring in respect, you cannot have extreme views as the meeting ground. There will never be a meeting ground. Shubhrasta, would you like to come in? Do you think the problem is that we are exploring too many of these extremes?
No, Sanket, we are not exploring extremes. We are talking about mundane, everyday realities. Let's understand one Ambedkar, and I'm just quoting from what H.C. Mukherjee said. Are we really honest when we say that we are seeking to establish a secular state? If your idea is to have a secular state, it follows inevitably that we cannot afford to recognize minorities based upon religion. So the concept where the idea where Sabha wants to explore the whole idea of recognizing the legacy of Islam and Muslim leaders in India, where do we go if we put in the word secularism there? The idea of Sarv Dharma Sambhav is, when Deepa talks about that, I think it's inherently secular in nature. Mahatma Gandhi died with Hey Ram on his lips. Mahatma Gandhi kept talking about Ram Rajya throughout his political journey. There's a reason why we have not been able to divorce dharma from our whole being. You know, India's fight for independence draws so much on the whole idea of Bharat Mata, how religion was fused to sort of whip up a sentiment of nationalism. You cannot divorce religion from India's conscience, and it is not just about Hindu religion. It's about anything that you have faith in. Today, I may assume that my camera is my God, and my land, India, gives me that kind of freedom to explore the idea of, camera being a God. That is something which is inherent to our being. How can you take that away? And which is why, and I would just end with what Dr. Ambedkar said. Again, the same Constituent Assembly debate on secularism. He said, what should be the policy of the state vis-a-vis secularism? How the society should be organized in its social and economic side are matters which must be decided by the people themselves according to time and circumstances. So new MPs, especially MPs below the age of 40, should debate this term.
Let us quickly take now some closing comments. We'll begin with you, Ambassador Verma, because we kept you waiting for a great while. So, Ambassador Verma, the rule over here for closing comments is that everybody gets 2 minutes of time. So, Ambassador Verma, we'll begin with you. Your closing comments on this debate. The time begins now.
Thank you, Sanket. If we wish to discuss secularism further and refine it, make it even more impactful, make it effective in a truly impartial way, remove its distortions, see how it is best applicable to our country, that debate is welcome. And incidentally, at least the way I have understood the Constituent Assembly debates, while there was opposition to the word secularism, the concept behind it, as I understand it, was accepted by all. It could not but be for the Constituent Assembly to meet and believe that India would be a country which is multicultural and multi-religious and would respect people as citizens from all faiths. In fact, Article 25 is specific, where it respects the right to faith, to profess and propagate it. So I think that this debate is valid, but we must not forget what is the essential thinking ethos behind it. And that is important for our country, because there cannot be a democracy based on exclusion, either majoritarian or minorityism. There has to be, for a democracy, to grant a level playing field, a respect for people as citizens and not only of the faith to which they belong. Otherwise, we are cutting at the very roots of democratic egalitarianism and equality of rights. Within this admission that this is essential, we are free to further evolve as a republic. Already the debate is happening about the distortions of secularism that have occurred in the past for vote bank politics. And that is being rightly interrogated. And therefore, let's have a secularism which, if you don't like the word, call it panth nirpeksh. But
Sure.
Sarv Dharm Sambhav is essential for
Is
a
essential.
country
Okay.
like India for democracy.
Okay, okay. Deepa Rahulishwar, your closing comments. 2 minutes.
So my thoughts on this are pretty clear because it doesn't come from any politically inspired ideas or anything. It comes from pure personal experience that I had to go through. And that is when I started, or it got me thinking as to are we really a secular nation? Because I was brought up, made to believe that we have to be secular. We need to, but my thought in secularism was adapting or being flexible to accommodate all religions. But then I feel today our nation is trading a very dangerous path of using secularism as can I say, a tool or a stick to actually beat up anybody who talks for their own religion or their own beliefs, because we are suddenly branded communal. I was talking for a temple called Sabrimala, and devotees who go to Sabrimala actually go to Muslim mosque where the deity or the god there is Babar, and he's a Muslim god there. And so that is the sort of diversity that we want. And if we ever reach there, that is secularism. Until then, this democracy doesn't deserve the kind of secularism that all of them are talking about. I think today what we're really looking for is pluralism. Secularism should not turn into anti-religionism, or it should not turn into being atheistic and no religion. So that's basically my point, and I guess we will reach there someday.
Sabha, your closing comments, please. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Sanket. At the end of this whole debate, I don't want to argue about the constitution because we can go on and on. The value of secularism that I see it, let's even stay away from the question of Muslims and Islam. It just talks about equality. Fundamentally, will the state treat all people as equal? And there's also an element of pluralism to it. So if we stop being secular, believe me, it is the first step. It's a domino effect. We stop respecting other linguistic traditions. We impose one over the other. It is only if we legally were to change. I mean, in principle, in spirit, we are not secular anymore. At least the central government in India is not secular anymore. But if we legally were to change, drop that, and we were to become a Hindu Rashtra legally, which is a task to do, but nothing is impossible these days. In that, then that takes away the pluralism of India. I'm talking about language, I'm talking about region, I'm talking about ethnicity, I'm talking about dialects, I'm talking about caste, I'm talking about interpretations of Ram, all of that. So secularism is one of the prerequisites of a plural way of looking at the world. So that is why for the genius of India, we have to have secularism as part of our way of thinking. And I'm not insistent on the word as the way we look at the world. Otherwise, we are looking in a very small way. So that's how I'll conclude it, and I hope people will support the motion that Pawan and I are on one side.
Okay. Shubhrasta, your closing comments.
Sanketji, I would like to urge the viewers of your show, especially the voters, to please consider that this debate is not happening in a vacuum where we are debating philosophies and a very theoretical journey of the word. We are talking in 2020 when newspaper headlines in India are absolutely manipulated, when there is a Hindu mob and a Muslim mob. And I don't need to quote the Indian Express and the NDTV and the Republic and the Times Nows of the world to tell you what I'm talking about. Just look at the case of Palghar and you will understand where I come from. We need to understand that the journey of secularism in India has been a very tumultuous one and a very political one. It was not inserted with a very theoretical premise of pluralism, and secularism cannot replace pluralism in India. Secularism as a term has been much abused. So whether we do away with it or we, inherit the civilizational beauty and the civilizational assimilation, cohesion that we have, whatever we do, we need to do away with this word, because this is a word which has caused so many turmoils in the past. We need to remember that the same Indira Gandhi who inserted the word secularism had cow and calf as her election symbol. So it is definitely laden with political connotations, and we need to understand that we are a dharmic nation, and nothing is going to change the inner constitution of our being. And please vote
All right,
for us.
Shubhrasta.
Deepa and Shubhrasta, please vote for us.
Okay, okay. So Deepa and Shubhrasta have made their case. They are urging you to vote for them against the motion, and so does Ambassador Verma and Saba Naqvi. They are also urging the voters to vote for their motion. What do you think, or who do you think, which team made the more convincing argument? And what is your view on this particular issue? Is secularism essential for a democracy? Thank you so much, Ambassador Verma, Deepa Rahul Ishwar, Shubhrasta, as well as Saba Naqvi, for joining us in the second edition of NDTV and Rolly Books presents India Debates.